Hello, my wonderful campers. How are we doing for Camp Summerween? Welcome to Chai and Book Girl. My name is Amanda, and today it's weekly check-in time. It is Sunday, which means we are just shy of a week into the Camp Summerween reading challenge. And I just wanted to come on and kind of give you an update about my week and how I did with reading. And also, we need to move my little campfire around the map of Camp Summerween so that we can keep track of my reading as kind of we go through the map and see if by the end of this challenge I can escape Camp Summerween. So to start off, we started out strong this week. And the first book that I read was Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. If you want to check out the reading vlog that I did for this, you can check it out. I posted it, can't even remember when, but last week I was actually camping up in the Kaibab National Forest because I really wanted my first week of Camp Summerween to have all the vibes. I wanted to feel like I was camping. I wanted to feel like I was at summer camp. I wanted the forest, the trees, the campfire. Like I wanted all of the vibes. So I took my camper and I went up and I camped in the national forest, and it was amazing. I had an awesome time. You guys can watch all the videos that I have posted about my time up there. It was absolutely spectacular. And one of the books I read up there is Heads Will Roll. And this was a perfect book to start with. We have a camp vibe going on here. We definitely have like summer camp kind of setting, although I will say that this isn't necessarily like a summer camp, like in the traditional sense. So this is actually a camp for, I don't know, people that are in fear of getting canceled, or people that are, they're kind of struggling in their real life and they need a way to get away from the real world and come somewhere where they can reset, get away, because maybe they're a social media influencer, maybe they're an actor or an actress, maybe just somewhere that, they're kind of in the spotlight or they have a lot of attention on them and they just need somewhere that they can move away from that spotlight and kind of be anonymous and kind of find themselves again, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So we have our female main character, and she is right in the middle of the scandal, and she is being canceled. She is a social media influencer, and she is being canceled. It is an absolute scandalous incident that has happened, and she needs to get away. So she is heading up to Camp Castaway, which is the name of our camp, and there are no phones, no electronics, no TVs, no clocks, no, like there's nothing. It is just you and nature. And so it starts a little rough, like she's kind of finding her footing, kind of getting her bearings, but she really kind of embraces it and feels like this could be a new beginning for her. Now, we also, on her first night there, she meets all of the other campers around the campfire. And here's the legend of Knock Knock Nancy. Knock Knock Nancy is our local legend, our lore, our scary story, our ghost, if you will. And Knock Knock Nancy is in search of a head. And so she knocks. If you answer, she's going to take your head. So now we have the knocking. The knocking begins, knocking on trees, knocking on her door, knocking, everybody always now is hearing knocking because, of course, Knock Knock Nancy is in the picture. And so we kind of have this supernatural element, but is it? And so we kind of have this mystery going on, but at the same time, we have campers going missing. And it starts with the first one, then we have a second one, and there's only 6 campers. And so when you're missing 2, that now that only leaves 4. And so obviously it's suspicious. And the camp mom is kind of acting suspicious as well. She is like, there are no phones, but I do have a satellite radio and I have called the authorities, but no authorities have showed up. So that's kind of sus. Like, where's the police? Like, the 2 campers are missing. And anyway, as we continue, this is a very fast paced book. As we continue, things start escalating and it goes faster and faster. And we see signs now of the murderer. We see signs of the axe. We see signs, like, we at the beginning, we're kind of led down this road where, oh, it must be Knock Knock Nancy, right? It's the scary story come to life. But at some point we kind of have to turn a corner and understand that this is actually, a real person who is, committing these murders. But what's fascinating is how the author, we know that this is a real murder, but it's fascinating because he takes this legend and, this ghost story, and it's all intertwined in this story. And it was great. It was a fantastic ending, and it was so fast paced. The ending of this was so climactic, like just blood and axe and just people dying everywhere. I mean, it was just explosive. So I really enjoyed this book. So fast, not boring. I flew through it in a day, and I believe I gave this 4.25 stars. So really enjoyed this one. So for our first book, because we started at the main lodge here at Camp Summerween, we're going to start here at the main lodge, and I read a book, and so now I am at the dining hall, and thank goodness, because I'm starving. Okay, for my second book that I read, so my second book I chose was actually Summer Fun Massacre by Craig DeLuey. You guys, and you can see reading vlog number 2 that I did for this. You can watch that video as well. It is posted. Oh, I had such a hard time with this book, you guys. The first chapter, fantastic. We had a massacre. We had murders. We had a camp. It was great. There was blood. It was fantastic, right? It was so not boring. And then the second through I can't even remember what chapter. I got 30% into the book and I had to stop. It was so boring. I mean, that's not to say that I won't go back to it, because I probably will, but I didn't want to spend my time. I had such limited time up camping that I didn't want to waste my time on a book that was boring. So I tried. I really did try. I spent a whole day trying to get through Summer Fun Massacre, and I ended up at 30%, and then I had to stop it. And I pivoted, and I went to Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McGauley. I'm saying this wrong. I know I am, and I apologize. I've said it like 13 different ways, and I know I'm still not saying it correctly. Now, this one was so much better. So much faster paced, not boring. I flew through this one in a day, my last day up camping, and I'm so glad that I chose it, because it was fantastic. Again, we have kind of this setting. It's a retreat where people can go to kind of reset, to kind of find their inner self, especially if they're being bogged down by their daily lives. And we have our female main character. She has some trauma from her past, and her friends have invited her to go with them to this spiritual retreat. And again, we do not have phones, we do not have electricity, we do not have anything that would, take away from, this kind of meditative, getting back to nature, finding our primitive, inner self. And so it's, again, we kind of have this type of setting. And again, we have kind of not really a local, I mean, it is a local legend. There's kind of lore that's associated with this area, because we have indigenous people. We have an Indian tribe that obviously has, been a part of this land for, ever. And then we have an abandoned mine. We have a tragedy that happened at this mine, and a group of miners were killed. And so there's kind of this ghost story that's happening with, this mine and these miners that were killed. And so that kind of comes into play. It's very much this, the author's kind of taking this local lore, these ghost stories, things that you would hear around the campfire, and taking it and kind of integrating it into, this current day, this current setting, tragedy that's about to happen to these retreat attendees. And I loved the way that the author took the local legend and took the ghost story and weaved it in with, this killer. And it was great, because we never got a break from the kills. The kills were so creative. They were very imaginative. They were super gory in some places. And kind of we never lost that. It was always there. It was always intertwined within the story. And so we never lost sight of the killer. And by the end of the story, again, we only have a handful of retreat attendees. I think there's four of them or five of them, five, I can't remember. And so, as they're starting to get picked off, and the numbers start to dwindle, it's obvious that something is going on. And so, we have this mystery. And, by the end of the book, it's very Scooby-Doo. And I don't say that like it was cartoony, because it wasn't, but it was very much like, the killer is unmasked and oh my gosh, I can't believe it was you, and it's twisty and it's, oh my gosh, I can't believe it was you. But then all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden Shaggy pulls back, the mask of who you think it is. And oh my gosh, it's a completely different person. And you're like, wait, I thought it was so-and-so, but it's actually you. And it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. Twisty, turny, so many unmaskings of so many different killers. And you're just one paragraph after another. And you're just, the author's taking you on all these little twisty, turny. It was fantastic. I loved it. I believe I gave it 4 stars. It was so nice to go from the very slow, very boring book that I had to Breathe In, Bleed Out, where I could just blow through the book, and it was so entertaining and so good. And I was so happy to be able to read a book that really gripped me. Okay, so Breathe In, Bleed Out, we're going to go from the dining hall to the health center. Oh, not my favorite. I do not like exercising. It's not my fave, but hey, at least I'm fed. So we are now at the health center. And for the last Summerween book that I read for this week, we have What a Big Hose You Have. So this is actually a arc that I received from the author. This is a contemporary chick lit. And this was so cute. This book was absolutely adorable. We have our female main character. She has just turned 50, so she's kind of at that midlife, kind of older type female main character, which I really enjoy in a book. Sometimes it's nice to read a book where you can identify a little bit more closely, with the female main character of a book, and so I appreciated that. But our female main character, she's just gotten divorced. She's basically starting her life over again. She packed up all of her stuff. She is moving to this new town called Denture, which is exactly like you think it is. Their big spiel is that everybody in the town is always smiling because it's called Denture. And she is there to be the new community ambassador. And her job is to make sure that the community is always smiling. And so she is in charge of community events, making sure that the community is unified and coming together for events, and it feels like the community is happy and coming together. And so that is kind of her job. And the first event that she is in charge of is supposed to be in June. Well, she happens to have moved there in June. And so she's kind of freaking out. She's like, whoa, 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 I just barely got here and you want me to plan an event already? And so the kind of word around town, because this is a small town, I think there's only 8,000 people that live in the town of Denture. This is a very small town. And word about town is that the only event that has ever happened in Denture in June is Safety Week, which is a firehouse led event. And so she feels like she maybe can, instead of starting from scratch, maybe she can add on to, or maybe she can help with Safety Week. And so she goes and she meets the chief of police, who is our male main character. And the chief of police is obviously he's hot, fireman, hello, but he's very rigid. He likes things the way that they are. He doesn't like change. He is very, I don't even really know what the word is for it, but change makes him very uncomfortable. And so when she comes and introduces herself and says, I've been put in charge of an event for June, and I was wondering if you needed help with Safety Week, because, I could totally help with that. He completely shuts her down, and he's like, no, Safety Week is perfect. Safety Week is my event, and I don't need any help. And So obviously, she is like, okay, let me talk to the mayor, let's see if, let's see what we need to do. And so anyway, she goes back to her office and she does some research, and lo and behold, what does she find? But an event called Summerween that just so happens to be in June. I actually didn't know this, you guys. Did you know that the Summerween official date is June 21st? June 20, yes, June 21st. I did not know this. Who knew? Anyway, and so she finds out about Summerween. She had no idea. So she researches the heck out of Summerween. And she says Summerween happens to fall on the last day of Safety Week. This is perfect. We can have Safety Week, and then on the last day of Safety Week, we will throw this giant Summerween party for the community. We'll end Safety Week with a bang, and it will be glorious. She takes it to the mayor. She proposes it. The mayor's on board. He loves it. He signs off on it. And the chief of police is just angry as can be. He's like, no, I hate Summerween. We are not doing this. Safety Week is mine. It is perfect the way that it is. I don't even know what Summerween is, but it sounds absolutely ridiculous, and this is not happening. So basically, the book is these two are butting heads, but at the same time, there's an attraction there. And so they're constantly bickering and butting heads about the Summerween party that she wants to throw. But at the same time, like, they're bickering and they're kind of back and forth is like making it so that they're learning things about each other. They're kind of getting to know each other, and sparks are flying. And oh, anyway, it was absolutely adorable. And the end was so cute. And it sounds like there's going to be more books in this series. And I'm super excited for it. I'd never read a book by Ginger Maddox before. And this was absolutely adorable. I totally enjoyed it. This was totally a Summerween book. It was all about Summerween. And I was absolutely thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled with it. It was so cute. So we are going to move from the health center, to the flagpole. Fantastic. It is time to raise the flag this morning. So that's where I'm at. I am at the flagpole at the end of this week. I hope that you had a good week. I hope that you had a good week reading for the Camp Summerween Reading Challenge. And until next time, happy reading.